Right, so having done my walk around and found a better proportion of things alive than I might have hoped for, I'm going to do something risky today, okay? So let's get on with it. Right, so today's planting is probably the biggest gamble I've taken, which is actually why I'm putting in an extra plant, because I do not think that gambling is usually a good idea. So I'm putting in cashews. So these are transplants because we have some old cashew trees and they do occasionally produce fruit and nuts. So the cashew apple, for anyone who hasn't had it, is really only worth eating for the victory that you got it before the bats did. But one of the really nice things about cashew apples is they do bring a lot of fruit bats, and fruit bats bring a lot of seeds. So for example, we have probably over 50 governor's plum trees or bushes growing around the place now, and we didn't have any 10 years ago because around other fruit trees, fruit bats arrived, ate fruit, and deposited seeds they'd eaten elsewhere. So now governor's plum, which is a perfectly edible, quite pleasant little fruit. The cashews are a great one for attracting those in, which is why, you know, even in a year when the cashew fruit's really heavily, I might find 200 nuts on one tree, but like 5 cashew apples, because they've been stripped down to little stems. They don't taste great, but they do taste like victory. Anyway, they are not good ones for transplanting. I should really have moved seeds, seeing as I have the time this year to sort of protect them as they grow up. Most tender plants I would usually transfer to a sort of sheltered space, you know, so take the seedling out of the ground, put it in a sheltered space, let it grow on a bit, and then put it back out. Cashews, I would not do that because every time they are moved, they are very, very sensitive, and if they get sort of root balls large enough to sort of touch the edges of the pot, if you take them out of that pot, you have a very good chance of just killing them. In my limited experience of trying to transplant seedlings. And so what I thought I'd try and do is make some square pegs and square holes, so dig sort of spade width holes around some very small cashew seedlings, which hopefully their root balls should be fully contained within that still, and then transfer that into a similarly sized hole directly, so they shouldn't have, hopefully, really sort of realised, as it were, that they've been transplanted. So I'm doing that with 5 of them, and with each one of those I'm putting a Dracaena, which I'm putting slightly outside of the square, not because I want it to stay there long term, and not because I don't want it to shade them too much. They do want shelter, but I don't want to break that root ball. And also around the edge of that root square, I'm then putting in some Calico Fedgenkoi and some of those very leggy Aloe Cameroni that have been growing far too long in shade. So in the middle of this little would-be grove, I'm planting a single queen palm, Brazilian queen palm, the Syagrus Rauvolfia, which I'm hoping should be a nice, safe bet. And that's going in with another Aloe Nieriensis and 3 little pieces of the Cotyledon Barbae, I think, the Bushveld Cotyledon, which should be, first off, quite a nice marker for where the grove is for in future if the Dracaenas don't take as fast as I hope they do. But secondly, should also be, you know, I can count on at least 1 tree. And if the 5 little cashews are still alive at the beginning of March, they will be added to the count. But just in case they do the very standard cashew thing and just die in being transplanted, I will be not counting them for now. I think that should be everything for today. So tune in tomorrow and we'll see what we can get in the ground then. So while I was scything for today's planting, there was a little rustle in the grass, and when I looked down, I found this little lady, who is I'm almost certain female by her size, a flat-necked chameleon, which is the only really common chameleon in around Lusaka area. There are a few others in Zambia, but not really widespread. But she was desperately trying to get out. You can actually see from her snout being a little bit brown. I don't know if you can make that out. She's a little bit brown on top of her snout, and that's not her colouring, that is soil. So she's been digging with her head, as you do. Probably means she's been laying eggs, I suspect, which is very generous of her. But you can also see from the polka dots all over her body, she is not happy with me right now. So I'm going to let her go in some of these sickle bushes, which should keep her out of the way of where I'm going to be scything. And then she can spread back into the grass when there's not a giant razor blade snacking through it.